A.J. Griffin passed up a good look. Bronny on the show and go. Got it blocked, but it'll stay at this end.
The 2024 rookie class is probably one of the worst classes in recent history. Before the 2024-25 season started, everyone already saw the class of 2024 as one of the worst batches of incoming youngsters the league has seen in a while. It's not that there wasn't a standout top overall pick, but it was more the fact that no player actually showed superstar promise, even though some of these guys have potential. But when it comes to bad classes, the standard is still the class of 2000. And it seems like 2024 could be a worthy challenger to that class. Basketball fans have been spoiled by incredibly talented young players over the past few seasons. When we look at every rookie class in the past decade, there has been at least one player who stands out and proves he could be a future star in the NBA. Guys like Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Zion Williamson, Cade Cunningham, and Paolo Banchero, among others, went on to live up to the hype and became capable stars in their own right after getting drafted high in their respective draft classes. But the past few years have been exceptionally crazy as far as talent is concerned.
George, that's because there's just so much movement and very little standing around. Oh!
Guys like Anthony Edwards, Chet Holmgren, and Victor Wembanyama have proven to be game-changing talents, the type of players who could one day carry the NBA to greater heights. These guys were already some of the most hyped players before they got drafted, but they went on to show their talent during their rookie seasons. However, the past rookie classes have also shown us that two or more players can compete for the Rookie of the Year award because of the talent of their rookie class. A season ago, we saw Wembanyama and Holmgren basically going toe-to-toe for the Rookie of the Year award because they were putting up great stats for their age and were living up to expectations. But when you look at the class of 2024, it doesn't look like it's going to be another case of a talent-filled draft class with multiple players surprising fans and experts alike. Even before the 2024 draft, this class was already getting labeled one of the weakest draft classes in recent memory because there was no particular player who was actually head and shoulders above the rest. The talent difference between this class and the previous years was crazy, especially when you consider that some of the lottery picks of the 2024 class would have probably been middle to late first-round picks in the previous years. In fact, people weren't sure who was the best prospect in that class because no one actually displayed enough talent and potential to turn heads around. Experts were choosing between Zachary Rizache and Alex Sarr. Ultimately, the Atlanta Hawks chose Rizache as the #1 overall pick. Some people thought this wasn't the right choice because he's raw and unproven.
Ricochet connects.
Meanwhile, the Washington Wizards chose Sarr as the second pick. All of the other players who came after them were mostly chosen based on team needs instead of talent. The thing is that while everyone already thought this was a draft class you needed to be patient with because there was no assurance these players would become instant impact players, it hasn't been a good run for them so far. True enough, the top draft picks weren't impressive, especially during the early parts of the season. Rizache was shooting blanks, Sarr struggled with the NBA's physicality, and Reed Shepherd, the third overall pick, has been riding the Houston bench. In fact, it's the other guys who have been contributing to their teams. The high draft picks didn't do so well during the early part of the season. Instead, it was the players who were overlooked in college who stood out as the favorites for the Rookie of the Year award. Jared McCain, taken 16th overall, was the early frontrunner for the top rookie prize because he was scoring in bunches while carrying a struggling Philadelphia 76ers team that was missing its best players due to injury. However, while McCain made the early proclamation that he would win Rookie of the Year, he got injured 23 games into the regular season, essentially disqualifying him for the award.
Jared McCain finds a seam, short on the lefty layup, and then Jared.
That's when the Rookie of the Year race turned into an awkward race involving players who haven't stood out well enough, but aren't really bad. At one point, the 7'4" Zach Edey looked like he had a chance until he lost some of his minutes and touches. Even the Los Angeles Lakers' Dalton Knecht had hot shooting games that made people wonder if he could be the dark horse for the Rookie of the Year. Ultimately, Stephon Castle, the fourth pick of the draft, turned into the favorite to win the award, not because he was putting up crazy numbers, but because he's been the the most consistent in terms of health and production. He leads all rookies in points per game and has also been pretty impressive with his playmaking while playing alongside Chris Paul and later De'Aaron Fox. But Castle's numbers aren't anywhere close to the previous Rookie of the Year winners like his teammate Victor Wembanyama, Cade Cunningham, LaMelo Ball, and Luka Doncic. He's putting up 14 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Those are steady numbers for a rookie, but not really eye-popping. Or maybe because we've been spoiled by rookie talent the past few years that a rookie putting up actual rookie numbers isn't anywhere near impressive.
Castle for an option. Biyombo gets it right back to him. Pulls up for 3 and cans it.
Whatever the case, the class of 2024 is yet to prove itself. But to be fair, a lot of those guys needed to adjust to the NBA style, especially when it comes to the players who made the transition from Europe. After initially struggling with their offense, both Reza Shea and Sarr eventually showed promise late in the season, proving why they were the top 2 picks. It took time for them to adjust to the speed, pace, and physicality of the NBA. Still, their numbers and performances haven't been impressive enough to convince people that they were the 2 most talented players in their draft class. Simply put, this class hasn't lived up to expectations. But does that mean this is the worst draft class of all time? Well, it's certainly the worst in recent memory. A lot of people still believe the 2000 draft class is the worst because it produced only 3 All-Stars. And while some of you may remember the infamous 2013 draft that saw the Cavs drafting Anthony Bennett first overall, this draft class did produce the all-time great Giannis Antetokounmpo. So far, it doesn't look like the 2024 draft class has players who could very well be stars in the future. It's a bit too early to decide the fate of these young guys, but it's unlikely we're going to see the next coming of Giannis or a dark horse superstar hiding in the late first round or the second round. There's still a good chance players like Reza Shea, Sarr, and the other lottery picks would pan out or even turn into all-star level players at some point in the future. It's also possible that one of these guys is just a slow starter and could eventually become a franchise cornerstone.
So Neal trying to take a foul. Jalen Wells with 9.1.
After all, we've seen a lot of players who struggled as rookies but eventually developed steadily the next few years before turning into true superstars. That's why it isn't impossible that one of these rookies could become the next version of Kobe Bryant or even a generation-defining star like Stephen Curry. We can't write off young players just after one season, especially when you consider that these are 19 and 20-year-old players competing against the best athletes in the world. That's why it's too early to conclude that this could be the worst rookie class of all time, especially when we have a barometer in the form of the class of 2000. That crop of rookies only had 1 All-Star appearance. Meanwhile, 5 of the top 7 picks of the class of 2000 had been washed out in a matter of 10 years. The class of 2000 already has the data to back up its status as the worst class of all time. But even if that's true, the class of 2024 is off to a bad start, and it's likely that some of these players won't make an immediate jump to stardom next season. This rookie year could be the worst of all time in terms of the production of these players. But let's not forget that some of these guys are fresh off their teenage years, whereas most of the rookies of the class of 2000 spent at least 2 seasons in college basketball and were supposed to be more developed than today's younger rookies. Still, it's also possible that some rookie classes just aren't that good, because, let's face it, star talent is still rare in any professional sports league. So, what that implies is that the class of 2024 probably just doesn't have that standout talent worthy of future superstardom. But we're not writing off the possibility that a few of these guys will make the All-Star game. That's still better than the 1 All-Star appearance the class of 2000 had. So at this point, let's give it around 2 to 3 years before we can conclude this draft class is the worst of all time. But as far as production is concerned, things don't look good for Reza Shea, Sarr, Shepherd, and the rest of the 2024 class. Let's just hope they skip the sophomore slump next season.